Okay, now for reals, I'm going to do the intro with Alyssa Fettuccine.
It wouldn't be the worst pronunciation I've gotten, so I'll take it. I love
Alyssa
noodles.
Farruggia, right?
Yeah, fettuccine.
Okay. Hello, listeners. Thanks for tuning in again. I'm excited for today's guest. This is another individual that I met through my work at Modified Tattoo. We had a pretty intense conversation, and I was just stoked to be able to find out more about this individual. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Alyssa Farruggia.
Hey.
Did I do it right?
Yeah.
Yes. Right before I said it, I was like, God damn it, I'm going to fuck it up.
I might switch it to fettuccine, though.
Alyssa Farruggia.
It'd just be funny.
Yeah. So I'm trying. I can't even remember if you came in for a piercing or a tattoo.
I had to get my jewelry put back in because I had come back from an MRI.
Oh, that's right. Okay. It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the second person, like I said, that's been on because of like the conversations that I had at the shop. And let's start at the beginning though. So you grew up in Buffalo.
Yep.
And you had said that your parents had split when you were fairly young.
Yeah, I don't remember them being together. I only remember them ever being apart. Like, there's pictures, obviously, but like I look at them, I'm like, are you sure this isn't staged?
I'm always curious too, is like, did your mom, like, did you grow up thinking that your stepdad was your dad?
No, I've known the whole time that my parents are my parents, and I've known my stepdad as Brian, which is his name. So I've always known that he wasn't my real father.
Okay, that's good.
He stepped in like one though, so I had two dads always.
Oh, okay. Are you the oldest then?
No. So I have an older sister. She's 3 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
And then my little sister is 4 years younger than me.
When parents split, it can go kind of a couple different ways. One being where it's amicable and parents like are fine with sharing time and all that fun stuff. The other is where the parents pit the kids kind of against one another. I'm curious as to what your experience was.
They definitely didn't like each other at all. They definitely tried putting us against each other. Like, I remember playing with, like, a Little Tikes Carnival. Like, I have a specific memory of a Little Tikes Carnival toy with the cute little, like, wind-up Ferris wheel. I was playing with that. Yeah. And I think it was Mom. One of the two was, like, who's a better cook, Mom or Dad? And, like, it's a small, trivial thing now if you think about it. But, like, they were trying to, like, get it in our head of who's better. And, like, that's super shitty. Like...
Yeah.
Like, my mom called my dad dumbass. That was his name. She didn't refer to him as his name. And then as I got older, she referred to me as Dumbass Junior because I am his miniature. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at what point... So that had to have been tough growing up, like, because I'm sure your experiences with your dad were not matching with what Mom was saying.
Exactly. So It was really confusing. Like, she was trying to make him out to be the bad guy, but in reality, it was her.
So when did you start to, like, catch on to, like, this dad is not who you're making him out to be? Why? You know what I mean? Like, did you ever have that confrontation or conflict?
I don't think ever like a confrontation per se, but like I remember like feeling like going to his house was the safe place, because it was a lot of verbal abuse at the beginning, and then it was small things like walking by and just like slapping you on the side of the head if she was pissed off, stupid small stuff like that, where at the time you don't think of it as abuse because you hear of abuse as like punched, kicked, thrown down the stairs, and you're just like, this is just who my mom is. But then that doesn't happen at dad's, you know? So it's confusing. And then you're trying to think as a kid, like, why is she treating like that? Like, what did I do? So I started having really bad mental health issues by like the age of 6.
And so was that anxiety?
It was anxiety and depression, like really bad. My mom, like if she wanted to punish us, we'd stand in a corner and there was this a big china cabinet. So it was just placed, just right in the corner. So you could stand with your face into the back of the cabinet and you could see behind it. And I remember standing there like 6 years old and thinking, okay, I want to die and I want to take my own life, but I want to see my dad one last time. So in my head at that point, I was planning like, I got to see dad first. So when can I do this?
Yeah.
That's a sad thing for 6 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Did you convey that to anybody?
I don't think verbally, because it was kind of one of those things where you kind of get brushed off like you're fine. But I remember like second grade or so, I had drawn a picture in one of my notebooks, and it was like me with a knife in my heart that I was holding the knife. I was in a pool of blood. There was crime scene tape around it. My mom found it, and she didn't like get me therapy or anything. She didn't. I got yelled at.
Ugh.
Same thing with when I started self-harming. Once I hit middle school, we got yelled at, and so I didn't feel like I could talk about it.
Yeah. So with so mom, was it that like, was she a religious person?
She wasn't religious. Her parents are.
Okay.
Like I had said before we started, she was a really bad alcoholic, and I think that stemmed from her own mental health issues, which I can totally understand substance abuse because of that, but we begged her to get help. We begged, and unfortunately that's what ended up ultimately taking her life.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because it varies as to like parents' understanding of mental health stuff. So whether they think that they can deal with it, what I call in-house, or if they're going to outsource. And my parents personally, because of the religious aspect of things, prayer, looking to God, these things are supposed to help, rather than taking somebody to the doctor to get meds and stuff like that. So was it simply that she had so much baggage on her own that she just didn't have the capacity to lend you that hand? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that could be part of it, and I think it's just like not wanting to believe that your kid is unhappy, because we raise kids hoping that they're going to be happy and love life and everything, and for a kid to be drawing pictures like that and having thoughts like that, I couldn't imagine my own kid, So I get it, but at the same time, like, it took me trying to take my own life and going into a mental hospital for me to get medication, to get therapy, and that was my dad's doing, not my mom's. My mom didn't come to see me when I was in those psych wards, like, and that's a shitty memory at this point, like, any of them. Actually, she came to one, and she came to family therapy, and we all fought the whole time, and I just left feeling even shittier, like...
Did you have friends who were supportive of you to try and make you feel better? Or like, kind of the trouble with depressed and anxious kids, we latch onto other depressed and anxious kids. And so there isn't a whole lot of help. It's more just like an echo chamber of like, everything fucking sucks, and until somebody eventually ends up hurting themselves.
It was once I came into high school, I made friends with the group that was like a year or two older than me, and it was the elder emos, as you call them. And so they kind of took me in, and I had a best friend. His name was Josh, and he was my person. Like, I was super anxious going into high school. Like, I carried a stuffed panda bear everywhere I went with me. Like, his name was Cupcake. I still have him. He's super ratty, but I love the shit out of him. But like, I wouldn't eat in front of anyone except for Josh because my anxiety was so bad. Like, if anyone else sat down at the table, I'd throw that away. But he would make sure, like, that I'd eat before anyone else came to sit with us. Like, stuff like that. Like, he did his best to make sure I was doing okay. Like, I could call him right now, and he'd answer, and he'd say, "What's wrong?" because he knows I call if something's wrong. Wow. And this is years later, and we barely even see each other or speak to each other, and he'd still, to this day, answer like that.
Wow. That's really cool. So, yeah, but I mean, was there anybody beyond him?
Not really. I've never had a ton of close friends. It's kind of just been me against the world. And I'm still here, so I mean, I'm doing pretty okay.
Yeah. But I mean, the stuff that leads up to, I mean, in a tumultuous family dynamic like that, I may be guessing here, but when you have arguments with mom and dad screaming things out like, I want to fucking kill myself, and it doesn't seem like you care, and they just say you're being dramatic.
Yep.
And so it just falls on deaf ears. How old were you, your first, have you just had the one attempt then?
Like two or three psych wards. I think only like two like attempts. The first one, I think I was like just turned 14, and then the last one I was like right after 15.
Okay. Do you recall what the circumstance was? Or was it just one more thing on top of all the other?
I don't remember the first time, but for sure the second time, it's kind of stupid to think about now, but at that point, like, it is what it is. I had snuck out of my apartment to go hang out with another person, just hanging out, like, wasn't even doing anything wrong. And I was usually really good at sneaking in before anyone got up, but that day I walked in and my stepdad was already up for work, and it was a spiral of, like, they were trying to take everything away from me, and at that point I was done. Like, it wasn't worth dealing with, and yep.
Yeah. So you got put on a hold each time?
So the first time I was taken from the Buffalo High School because it was an attempt while I was at a summer school program for like I think the yearbook or the magazine, something like that, some extracurricular. And I had taken pills with me to the school, and somebody happened to find the note that I had in my pocket, and they told somebody.
Wow.
So ambulance had to come and take me from the Buffalo High School to the Buffalo Hospital, and then they helped me there for a while before transferring me to Prairie Care in Maple Grove. Terrible. Hated it there. Hated it. So bad. Lemonade every meal.
My wife used to work there.
Well, tell her it sucks.
Oh, she knows. That's why I said used to.
Okay, good. And then the second psych ward, I wouldn't sign a safety contract with my therapist saying that I wouldn't try and kill myself before our next session. And she was like, homie, come, just do it. I'm like, I'd be lying. And she's like, just do it. Otherwise, I got to sign. I'm like, send me. Do it. I dare you. Like, and she did. She had to call my dad. My dad had to drive me down to Fairview.
Okay.
And then the third time, it was pills again, and it was after that time of sneaking out and whatever. And I want to say they brought me. My mom called my dad because my stepdad wasn't home. I think she had been drinking and couldn't drive me, and so my dad had to come get me and bring me to the Buffalo Hospital. And then they obviously transferred me to Abbott. Good one.
Okay,
that's the one I liked. Still have a stuffed animal I made there. His name is Gimpy.
Oh, okay.
He has one.
So
leg.
How long were you held?
I think each time was like max of like 7 days, but Abbott, they had to put me on cardiac unit first because it was like a full bottle of acetaminophen, like 100 pills, and my heart was being fucky. So I had to stay on cardiac unit for a few days before they could transfer me to psych. So that was fun. I was the youngest on cardiac unit for a few days. That was
Holy smokes. How old were you when you found out that about your diagnosis?
Oh, my MS? I just figured that one out in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this was all before that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So
Gotcha.
my life's just been a whirlwind of shit show.
It's weird to think about like youth and adolescence facilities versus adult facilities. I never went to a youth one. All of the times that I was held, it was at the adult mental health unit in St. Cloud. So I only have that experience. But one of the weird things about being on that unit was you're an adult, but you're being spoken to like a child. So I'm curious as to like, if it felt like you were demeaned beyond that because nurses, they just want to get in, do their job, and then move on, usually.
I don't remember a lot of the care at Prairie Care or Fairview. Abbott was super, super chill. Everyone like actually genuinely cared. I remember one guy I sat and played cards with like every day, and he just let me talk about whatever it was. And like, so there are some staff who care, and it's actually made me think about going into that as a job because, they need someone who cares.
Yeah. It's tough, man. I mean, I try to tell people, like, every time I meet a nurse at the shop that's going to school, I'm like, you should look into some type of mental health along with that, because it's such a huge part of I feel like individuals' physical health as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people. I mean, mental health has such a massive spectrum now that I feel like everybody at least jokes about having anxiety, or ADD.
See, and I kind of hate that though. Like, I get that you want to fit in and you might have a few of those little traits, but like, the people who actually have it, like BPD, people joke about that one all the fucking time. And I do have that, and it fucking sucks. It's part of why my mental health is as bad as it is. A lot of people with BPD don't make it to C25. So I'm 6 months to 25, and I'm like, all right, buddy, keep going. So close.
You're like a rapper.
Yeah.
Don't know if I'm going to make it to 25. I'm familiar with part of the struggle as far as that stuff goes too. So when it comes to like the care that you're supposed to give yourself, because how old were you when you got diagnosed with that?
So I want to say they did an initial like diagnosis when I went to Prairie Care, but that diagnosis can't stick because I'm underage. So it was just a couple years ago, I think 2019, 2020, when I was in therapy, and I sat with a therapist through DBT, and I was like, all right, can you confirm or deny this? And we sat, and she was like, you're on the edge of bipolar and BPD. And then she looked more and she's like, nah, it's BPD. I was like, thought so.
So like so the struggle with that is like when it comes to the homework that you're supposed to do, because when it comes to like mental health stuff, people talk about pills as though like that's the all-encompassing thing. It either makes you a zombie or it's supposed to cure everything. But really it's a tiny part of all of the other work that you need to do. It's basically just putting gas in the car.
Yep. You still have to change the oil. You still have to make sure you have working wipers, all that. Otherwise, it's not good to drive, Same with your body and mental health.
Yeah. So with BPD stuff, like authoritarian, like any type of, I don't mean to make it sound like they're like everybody with BPD has like trouble with authority or authoritative figures. A lot do, but because of that, the connotation when somebody tells you to do something, that feeling of like, I know me, I know how to survive, I know what I need to do. I may have slipped up with this thing, but I got it from here.
Oh yeah, it pisses me off. I'm like, you think you know me better than I know myself? Let's do 20 questions. Let's play some Jeopardy.
Yeah, it sucks to know that like, or it sucks to not know certain diagnosis. I feel like I didn't find out that I have hypomania.
Okay.
So which is just barely like basically bipolar.
So close.
Yeah. But I didn't realize that until I was 33. And so it's like, God damn it. Like all this other stuff would have been so much easier to deal with had I known that I had this other thing, because your chemical imbalance like fights against you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't properly work on this stuff when you have that nagging feeling of like, yeah, it sucks. Back to you though. So with each stint, when you would come back, how would your mother treat you any differently? Or was it more like, did you learn your lesson?
Yeah,
type of
mom
vibes?
was kind of more like, oh, hey, you're back. You gonna do that again? Or was that good? Dad, on the other hand, I remember coming home from the first day and he had gotten me a pair. Remember Avril Lavigne's clothing line from a few years back?
Yeah.
Abby Dawn? He got me a pair of Abby Dawn checkered skinny jeans that I still have to this day. They're in my drawer right now. They still fit, size 0. But I remember that. Like, they were just folded up on my pillow of my bed, and it was, like, he didn't really say anything, but, like...
That's sweet, dude.
It was a gesture, yeah. And that's small things, it matters. But my dad worked on, like, being like, hey, if you're feeling like that, you really need to, let me know. At least let me try and help. But as a teenager, that's super fucking hard to be like, yes, I'm going to go tell my parents everything.
Mm-hmm. It's hard telling anybody. Like you were saying, like, I know you only had... or you didn't have like a large circle of friends, but even with individuals with large circles of friends, I mean, you hear all the time somebody committing suicide and all of their friends being like, we had no idea they were even sad. So it's like,
it's easy to mask when you've done it long enough because you don't want people to judge you, like especially parents. Like if you don't want
I was going to say, if you're being punished for an outburst, but really you're fucking struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, your whole reward system and sense of shame is completely fucked.
Yeah, BPD a lot other times stems from childhood trauma, so I'm just like, thanks, mom and dad.
Oh, yeah. And the thing that sucks about BPD is like it's all behavioral stuff. I mean, there's like some medication that you can take, but it's so much behavioral work that you have to do, which...
It's a lot. I mean, I went through the full year of DBT, and even now, it like being in a tough spot where you just want to have that outburst, and you're trying to switch back into, okay, what skill can I use? But your brain's like, no skill, just do this. And you're like, no, stop, bad.
DBT, is that the immersive, like...
Yeah, dialectical behavioral therapy. Like, you get this big old workbook, and you learn how to work on these skills, and you have one-to-one therapy and group therapy, and it's a lot. It was a big commitment. I'm just glad I did a whole year of it, because goddamn.
I'm trying to think of what the other therapy is called, or if it's the same thing where they submit you to the same kind of things over and over again.
Oh, I think you're thinking trauma therapy almost.
Yeah.
Because I've done that partially too, and that fucking sucked.
But I can never remember what it's called.
I want to say it's just like trauma therapy. I don't know though. I don't remember. But like well, okay. So I remember there's two different types of situations, like in vivo, which is ones where like you do them in real life, I think. And then like imaginal, which is like you keep retelling the same traumatic story over and over and over. God,
I swear it's like immersive, traumatic something.
It might be. I don't know.
No.
I have MS. My brain lesions are acting up.
I was just going to ask. So you've kind of alluded to like not having the best memory when it comes to some of that stuff.
So bad.
I didn't know about MS affecting your memory until a couple of years ago. Was that one of the tells when you had found out, or?
So my tells were actually super fun. When I've told people, they've almost doubted my MS, which pisses me off because they're like, that's not how you find out. But mine actually started with a stupid trip to the eye doctor, like just a yearly exam. And then they're like, hey, you want to pay like $15 to test for like glaucoma and shit? And I was like, sure. I've spent $15 on worse. Why not? And so we did a vision field test where you stick your face into this thing and you have to press a button every time you see a light flash.
Oh.
And like, I thought I was doing 10 out of 10. I was ready to go home. And they're like, you're not seeing your dots with your peripheral vision. Maybe you're just having a day. Come back tomorrow. So I did. And they're like, you still suck. So they sent me to a better machine thinking my eyes just were a little messed up. And that machine, same shit. And they're like, you should probably go get an MRI. And I was like, oh, why? So I went for an MRI, and that's when they saw the few lesions I do have on my brain. But when they called me, they're just like, hey, you got some spots on your MRI, and you have to see a neurologist. They didn't hint to what it could be, so my neurologist appointment was like a couple weeks out, and I thought I had brain cancer. I started writing a will. I was ready to die. Because, like, what else would spots on my brain be?
I was going to say, that's the worst fucking thing.
It was so bad. So I was just, I like wrote out who was getting each of my lizards. Like, I was ready. It was in my coffee table. People knew where it was. Like,
yeah.
So then I go to the neurologist, and it was kind of just like, well, it could be MS, but you're not really having symptoms. So, like, I don't know, man. And then passed me off to another neurologist, and they're like, yeah, maybe. And then I had a vertigo episode, and I had to go to the ER. So they did another MRI. So then we had another image. And they're like, yeah, we think this probably is it. So then they finally were like, yeah, you should probably get a spinal tap. And I was like, oh, all right.
Oh, my God.
And then like 4 days before my spinal tap, I got dropped crowd surfing and fractured my neck.
Oh, my God.
Hashtag Elder Emo Warped Tour 2018.
Jesus, fuck.
But what's fun is I didn't know my neck was fractured for like a year and a half. And we only found it because of my MS issues. So like, thanks MS. But yeah, so got my spinal tap. And my spinal tap results, they were like, yeah, no, we don't think it's MS. So like, it was seriously back and forth constantly.
Wow.
And then finally they sent me to a fucking specialist. And the first time I went there, she didn't have my fucking MRIs, meaning she couldn't do anything. And I was so fucking pissed. My dad was with me. I was going off because I'd been to so many doctors in it started in like late January, early February. And by the time that I had the spinal tap, it was July. So it was constant doctor's offices. I was just fucking tired of it.
Yeah.
And so, like, she walks in and tells me she doesn't have my scans. And we went all the way to the cities. And I was like, bitch, you gotta be kidding me. Like, what? Like, so the next time we came, like, she, like, poked her head in the room real slow. She's like, I have your scans. I was like, good. Now get your ass in here. Like, so, fun fact, that's actually part of why I didn't go to the hospital after my drop. After I got dropped crowd surfing, I was fucking tired of doctors. I feel like any other time I would have known that I should go to the hospital. But I was like, nah, I'm getting a spinal in a couple of days. If there's something wrong, they can figure it out then. Like, they did it.
That's so wild. I mean, so let's go back before we dive completely into the MS stuff. At what point did you realize that your mom had substance issues? Or did that not come until later?
No, it was pretty young. Like, she'd borrow money from our piggy banks to go buy beer. I mean, I don't think I ever saw her drink water. She'd get up in the morning and she'd start with Diet Coke, and it would be just Diet Coke. And then she'd switch to her Coors, and then later in the day she'd switch to rum and Coke. We kind of just learned, like, if she was having a good or a bad day, and, like, learned to base our behavior around that. So, like, we'd be sneaky if she was more drunk, and we could get, sneak behind the couch with friends or whatever it might be. And then, like, on her good days, we'd come home from school and she'd be in the kitchen with an apron on, baking and, like, happy as shit. And it was just out of fucking nowhere, but you ran with it because you don't know when the next good day's coming. So it just, like, we knew. I mean, but what can you do as kids? I mean, we asked her to stop drinking. We begged her, like I said before, but it just... someone's not going to get help unless they're ready to get help. And unfortunately, she never was.
Well, I mean, I forget if I told you, like, so in a few days will be at 666 days sober.
Hey.
Thank you, Satan. But man, when it comes to the addiction stuff, I think that, like, the recovery system is failing people by putting the onus on a higher power.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge thing.
Which doesn't necessarily mean religion, but it does allude to some, like,
higher being, yeah.
Something greater than yourself, or something that you hold in higher regard than yourself. But, like, if somebody just hears it, they're going to think, like, they have to find, like, a spirit animal or whatever. Reconnect with God or Jesus. And really, like, the thing that made a massive difference in my recovery was the super basic objective process of how your brain works, which I'm curious if you know, because I'm sure you've had to brush up on stuff when it comes to neurology and
here and there, not too much. I mean, they're pretty good at explaining what's going on. Like, okay. And I can tell with my MRIs and stuff at this point, like, if I have new lesions and stuff, which is super cool.
Wow.
Which I haven't had any new lesions start since I got diagnosed. So, yes, golf clap.
So just that 3-step program of how your brain functions, right? So you have that subconscious part of your brain, which I call, like, passive survival skills, breathing, blinking. Yeah. You don't, like, avidly think about,
you just do them.
I need to breathe in now. I need to breathe out now. Like, it just happens. So that part of your brain is called the midbrain, and it also tells you we need water. We need this. But because that's not something that you can just make appear, it had to figure out a way to get you to go and do that thing.
Yeah.
So step 2 is like, so step 1 is we need water. Step 2 is like, all right, where are we going to get the water? And then step 3 is we're going to go steal it from our neighbors. Let's go do that. So you do a little light B&E and get hydrated. But seriously, like, that's as basic as it is, right? So with substance abuse, because when you do that, when you complete that 3-step process, the midbrain introduces dopamine, and it's like, good job. But it's such a minute amount, like on a daily basis, that it doesn't really register. Like, nobody's super psyched about getting water every day from...
I think you're wrong, because if my boyfriend tells me I'm a good girl for taking my meds or my water, I get so fucking excited. That's how he gets me to do shit.
That's a little different.
Hey,
because you have somebody verbally saying.
Counts.
But, like, to yourself, like, I don't go get like a jug of water. I'm like, fucking, you're the best. But yeah, so your brain had to introduce this what I call survival juice, because to the midbrain, all it means is you did a thing that's going to help us survive. So here's a little happy juice. When you introduce substance, it doubles the amount of the happy juice that you're getting, that dopamine. So your brain thinks that you're doing something that is helping you survive.
Yay, good job. Keep doing it. We're happy.
Exactly. Well, not necessarily because there's no like real like feeling attached with the midbrain. That's why it had to introduce the dopamine, because it was like, I don't know. I think it was
Shrug.
I mean, we introduced water. They should just be like glad that we're alive, but I guess we'll give you like a little extra. So yeah, so your like evolution had to figure out a way to do that. But so the midbrain doesn't make that association. It just thinks that because the dopamine is getting introduced, like it's a chemical reaction thing where the dopamine's getting introduced at a much greater rate. It's like, oh, we must be like safe, doing really good, but you know, whatever. So if we don't have that, if we're not matching that same volume each time, then something's wrong. So midbrain figured out a way to skip step 2 and go straight to the action part. So midbrain's like, okay, I know I usually introduce the dopamine, but there was something else that was introducing it. So what the fuck? Why is that not happening? That must mean that we're dying. That's why like people go through withdrawals, is because your brain is seriously thinks that something as important as water has been removed from the equation. So you have this subconscious part of your body that midbrain doesn't give a fuck about your feelings or like your friends or family. It just thinks that it needs this stuff because that equals surviving. That's it. So learning that part of it answered so many questions when I would be like, I didn't want to go to the liquor store. I didn't want to, you know, I don't want to choose substance over my family. I don't want to be doing this. Why do I keep doing this? And that's where like depression comes in and suicide attempts and stuff, is because it's such a massive conflict, right? Mm-hmm. Like you have this subconscious part that's like, everything's fine, dude. And then the rest of reality going, no, dude, everything is fucking going downhill. That's why like a lot of addicts will just be straight up about being addicts. Like, yeah, dude, what am I going to, I'm going to stop? No, I'm a piece of shit. Like, this is what I deserve. So I feel like if people would just do this like little basic thing, or teach that little basic thing before anything else, you're like, okay, just so you all stop feeling so ashamed of yourselves, know that there is a subconscious agent working against you that would make you do these things that seem super irrational. So with regards to your mama, I would say unchecked mental health stuff, because I think almost every addict has a mental health issue as well, or some type of trauma. Plus not knowing that little thing, it's like it's only gonna get worse. So what was it that finally took her?
It was pancreatitis. We didn't know that she had it though, and unfortunately the symptoms of that were very similar to her being intoxicated, so slurring of her words, falling over, like, so we didn't know. She passed in her sleep, so I mean, at least there's that, but my little sister was home, and she was the last one to see her alive. My little sister got home from school. Mom went to lay down and take a nap, which, you know, is what it is, and then, you know, little sister's doing whatever she's doing, and then when my stepdad finally got home from work, he's a roofer, he came home, went to check on her, and she was already gone. He did CPR until the ambulance got there, but she was already gone.
One of the individuals that I was in treatment with died of pancreatitis. Man, it's so that's another like indicator, right? So like this guy was aware that he had pancreatic issues and had been in treatment twice, but still couldn't stop. And it's like, sorry. I don't mean to like turn this into a thing about like how, but it's such a bummer for people to like this old guard shit is failing so many people, like Alcoholics Anonymous. And really what you need is community, right? You
Yeah.
need people that'll support you. Same thing goes with mental health. Having a support group is so fucking huge. But making people feel ashamed along the way, like, isn't helping anything. And I don't know if your mom ever did she ever try to quit that you remember?
I don't think so. I honestly don't think she ever tried to stop, even when we did beg. I mean, like you said, it's just one of those things, your brain's gonna keep doing it no matter what. And she knew something was wrong with her, which is sad. She didn't have health insurance. And she had told my grandma that she thought she had like a stomach ulcer or something, but she didn't want to go in because of the cost of healthcare. So healthcare, that sucks too. But, me and my sisters at this point, now all being adults, have talked about, if she had known, would she have gotten help? If, my stepdad had gotten home earlier and saved her, would it have been enough to make her think about it and switch it around? But, like the person you went to treatment with, it doesn't always do it.
Yeah. When she passed, that I'm curious as to like the conflict of feelings, because I've lost people where we didn't necessarily get along. So I was conflicted as to like, I didn't know how to feel when they were gone. You know what I mean? So for you, I'm curious as to like when she was gone, what was that grieving process like?
So when it first happened, I think it really just hit me that like, hey, that's my mom. Like I wasn't really thinking of the trauma she'd caused me at that point. And because of some of my behavioral issues at that point, my parents had decided to move me full-time to my dad's. Prior to that, they would do like 4 days on and then we'd switch back and forth. And they'd move me back to dad's because I got into more trouble at mom's. It was an apartment community. I could sneak out easy, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they moved me back to dad's. And so seeing mom was kind of like a treat. Like I only got to go over there every once in a while. So she'd kind of be on a better behavior when I was there during those points because of that.
So it had switched at some point?
Yeah, so it was after my last hospitalization, I want to say, because unfortunately, right before that, I had started getting into trouble with older guys, and unfortunately,
like you were killing older guys?
Shh, you're not supposed to
Sorry,
tell.
Allegedly.
No, unfortunately, like, due to that apartment complex and just being able to get into shit without people realizing it, like, I lost my virginity to a 22-year-old while I was so drunk I couldn't walk, like,
Ugh.
And that's super shitty, but that's the kind of stuff my dad was trying to prevent by moving me to his house, because it was a house in a good neighborhood, like, so I understood, but I kind of resented him at the same point because I couldn't get away with shit. But like I said,
that goes back to that BPD thing.
Yep.
It's like you can't help it. Like you're just gonna have a visceral reaction to like anybody who's trying to apply rules to you, even though you're the one that's, I've been doing just fine, before you try to throw these rules at me.
But yeah, like I was supposed to see my mom that coming weekend. And what really sucks is the last time I talked to her was over the phone, and I had really wanted to get my first lizard. I wanted to get a leopard gecko, and my little sister had a tank that she used to have a turtle in, and there was nothing in it anymore. And I was just like, hey mom, can I take this tank so I don't have to go buy one? And she said no, because what if my little sister wanted to get another turtle? At that point, I was just pissed off. Like, really? She doesn't need another turtle. It's not getting used right now. And the last thing I said to her is, why are you being such a fucking bitch? And I hung up the phone. Oh. And unfortunately, that's the last things I ever said to her. And you don't think about that at that point. It's just, you're pissed off. So that's helped me a lot at this point in my life, of realizing like words really, what you say matters. You never know if it's the last thing you're going to say to someone. But yeah, like I was supposed to see her that coming weekend. Like, so it just, with the grieving, it hit me hard. Like I didn't know what to feel really.
Yeah.
And what really sucks about it is my dad, like he came in my room. I remember I was Skyping with a friend. Like I was wearing onesie pajamas. I was Skyping with a friend, like just hanging out. And, he was like, get dressed. And like, it wasn't unusual for him to just like come in and tell me to get ready to go somewhere. Like, maybe we're going out for Chinese, maybe we're going to Walmart. But like, I could tell that his vibe was just off. And so I got dressed and hung up with my friend, whatever. And then, he was like, all right, come get in the car. And he was still just being really weird. And I didn't know what the fuck was going on once we're in the car driving. And it's like a 5-minute drive from dad's to mom's.
Oh.
And he just said, something happened to your mom. He didn't tell me. So it was once we started pulling in that I saw the ambulances and the fire truck and the cop cars and all of that I realized how wrong something was. And I got out of the car like the second he stopped it, and I went to the door, and my grandma opened the entryway door, and she immediately hugged me and told me that my mom was dead. So like, it was just such a spiral of like, I knew something was wrong, and then she was dead, and then like, what? Like, what the fuck do you mean she's dead? Like, and yeah, all of my family is just downstairs at the apartment just fucking crying, and that's when you realize like, they're not joking, like she's dead. And I remember like the cop, I wanted to see my mom's body, and like I understand now, like it wouldn't have been good, but like that's my mom. I wanted to say goodbye, and she wouldn't let me in. And I was just so fucking mad. Because the last, memory I have of seeing my mom now is at her funeral. And the funeral home did a really shitty job. Like, I went by her casket twice, total.
That's fucking brutal, man.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Fucking pussy.
Thank you, that's all I need. Just call me a pussy, I'll stop crying. Hey, pussy, I'll fight you. You want to go?
Don't make me make you beat me up in front of all these people.
That'd be super fucking funny. I'd pay to see that. Especially because I'm so fucking tiny, like, if I won.
Well, that's what
I'm small, but I'm scrappy.
I started saying that to people because after my back injuries, I'm just a very weak individual. So I would say, don't make me make you beat me up in front of everybody else here. And people would be like, what? Like, yeah, you think about that.
I'll do it.
Yeah, it sucks. Like you were saying, like, I get why they, couldn't let you, because I forget how long it's technically like an active crime scene or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. But like, I know that my older sister had gotten to go in there. I think that's what really, like, my stepdad got to be in there. My little sister had been in there. My older sister had been in there. Like, I felt like everyone except for me was being allowed to have their moment, except me.
Yeah. Were they there initially?
So I don't know how the hell everyone else got there first. That kind of pissed me off too. Like, I was one of the last people to get told that my mom was dead. My sister was living in Monticello at the time, so like, she would have had to drive 10, 15 minutes at least to get there.
Right.
We live 5 minutes away. Why did she get there first?
Do you think maybe your dad wasn't like sure as to whether or not to bring you over there initially? Like, did your siblings have the same mental health issues that you had?
Yeah, no, mine have always been worse. We all have them a little bit, but mine have always been worse. So it probably was just trying to like figure out how the hell do I tell my kid that her mom's dead? Like,
yeah, it scares me to think, like, so my last attempt, like I was pretty drunk, and because I had tried to hang myself, the memory's kind of blurry, but like I just remember my older brother waking me up, because my wife had been trying to get a hold of me, and like him like shaking me, trying to wake me up and stuff, and then cops being there, and my son had woken up and came in, and the first thing he sees is a bunch of officers and medics and dad just laying there on the bed. Like, that's like one of my biggest fears is like, I can't take that back. And if I could have somehow averted that, and like dad's just in the hospital because he's having a tough time versus all of the shit that he had to see, You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so that I just put myself in your dad's, or I'm trying to put myself in your dad's train of thought as to like, there are certain things that you can't unsee.
And I
And,
think that's part of why the officer didn't want me in there. Like, because I don't know exactly what her body looked like at that time. My sister did say that.
oh, and I wonder if your stepdad was with your sisters and was like, yeah, come, like, let's.
Well, so I know my little sister was there, but my older sister was married and moved out. So, like, she didn't live there. It was just my little sister, my stepdad, who would have been home. So that's like.
That sucks. So, yeah, I mean, that's interesting though that like it had gone from the confrontation with your mom and this kind of better, like safer feeling at
Yeah.
dad's, and then to get that shift of like, oh, when I get to see mom rather than I have to go see mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, did it switch to that to where?
Yeah, at that point it switched to that because it was a privilege to get, because he could be like, yeah, no, you're not going to your mom's this week. It was what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, technically the custody agreement was still 50-50, so I could have technically fought him on it, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take what I can get. At that point, like, I had my own room for the first time at my mom's, so like when I did get to go there, I had my own room I could go to, like it was decked out with all my stuff, so like, and I still had stuff separated at mom's and dad's, so like mom's house I had certain CDs that weren't at dad's house, and it was like I can go do certain things, and I had friends living at that apartment complex, so I could go see my friends. And
so, okay, let me try to figure out this timeline again. So were all of the attempts before mom passed away?
yeah, all of them were before.
Okay.
The last one probably being like 6 months beforehand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's tough to describe to people who haven't gone through this, but after you commit suicide, or after you attempt suicide.
Are you telling me you're a ghost?
Yeah. Sorry.
Shit.
I know, I always fuck that up and blow my cover.
Spoopy.
But after you attempt suicide, the next time becomes easier.
Yeah, and even like now when those thoughts come creeping, like it just feels like I could easily just go do it. Like there wouldn't be that much planning to go into it. Or like I remember like wanting my room to be clean. At
Yeah.
that like, and those are like weird small signs that a lot of people don't see. But like not even 6 months ago, I had a friend message me because I was selling a lot of my books, and it was only because I have a lot of books, and a lot of times I read them once and then they'll just sit. So I was selling books, and she messaged me. She was like, "Hey, are you good?" And I was like, "Yeah. Why?" She was like, "Well, I noticed you've been selling a lot of things. Like, you promise you're good?" I was like, "Yes. Yeah, I would tell you if I wasn't. I am okay, but thank you so much for knowing that I need that." And that's the huge thing, is I do have a few friends who can tell, like, if I'm just that little bit off. They're like, "You sure?"
But I look at suicide now the same way that I do cancer, in that with individuals who have mental health issues, the way that cancer can eventually take that person, suicide is that. Like for individuals with severe enough mental health issues, like it's just one of those things that can be a side effect of, or one of the things that can be detrimental to us coming out of the other side.
Yeah.
Because of that thing. And the feelings are, I feel like initially they were like really intense. Whereas the second time I was like, because I had a physical therapist tell me that like my physical health had gotten to the point to where I was 27. No, I just turned 30. And my doctor had told me that I had like the muscle mass of like an 80-year-old man, basically, because I couldn't do anything for like a year. And I'd seen doctor after doctor, and this physical therapist, I had heard that they were starting to do disc replacement stuff, which it's still advancing, and I'm waiting for them to be able to do it on the spot that I need. But so I'd asked her about that, and she was like, don't look into that. Don't, very dismissive. And I was like, well, what? I just trying to get better for my family because I'm a huge, I'm not able to do anything for him. And she was like, you may need to just get used to this. And I was like, oh, well, this isn't working. This, I can't do anything for my kid. Like there were all these things, right? That I don't know if she was having a shitty day or why she would talk to somebody like that.
She's a see you next Tuesday.
Yeah. One of those right old cunts.
I was trying to be good and not say it, but
no, it's funny. The last person that was on, lady, was saying cunt a bunch, and I was like, good for you.
Well, I had a dude almost punch me in the face once for calling me a cunt. So like, dead ass, my cousin had to step between him. Like it was.
Oh my God.
So I'm very cautious with that one.
That's funny. But yeah, so that time, so this was going to be my second attempt. I just went, oh, okay. Well, then I can't be here anymore because I'm making things harder for everybody else. So it was way like scary, frighteningly easy compared to the first time. Like it was like I say this all the time. It's like going through the drive-thru and I'm like, hey, can I get a cheeseburger? And they're like, sorry, we don't have any cheese. Is a hamburger okay? And I was just like, yeah, hamburger's fine. Like it was that simple where I was like, sent the kids off with my parents to my niece's birthday party and was just like, this is it. And it's going to suck for people initially, but it's going to be so much easier for them because my physical state is such a burden on everybody right now. So
you're speaking to me over there.
It sucks. So we're in that much more danger because it's a unfortunately rational thought when you have all of these other mental health issues. So like where a normal person is like, oh, I could never even imagine trying to hurt myself. It's like, well, you don't know.
You haven't been put in those circumstances that just push you to that point. And like, I've seen it myself with my MS, and unfortunately I saw it with a friend's mom. I know someone whose mom was diagnosed, and like half of her body is just kind of like not working right. And so it mentally, she didn't want that for herself because she's lived how much of her life up to this point having a completely fine body.
Yeah.
I mean, even me at 20 years old when I got diagnosed, I mean, that hits hard because I'm like, fuck, like, wait, what? I have to be a little more careful with shit. Like, I can't do as much. And then I have the neck fracture that is still displaced and healed wrong.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because I didn't get it fixed right away.
Oh.
Like, it's healed outward. Like, I'll show you the picture.
Because when that happens, they'd have to like re-break or re-fracture.
Yeah,
like...
pretty much. And because I didn't do it soon enough, like, doctors are shrugging me off, but my neck pain is a huge issue, like to this day, especially with getting colder out. And they're just like, well,
yeah,
how about some physical therapy? And I'm like, bro, I just finished, you just discharged me from like 12 weeks of it. What?
Yeah, that's like, I did a bunch of physical therapy. I don't know. I could go on and on about like the gap between providers and ironically providing information to the next person. It's like, you guys are playing telephone with my fucking life, and you should be more careful and make sure that everybody has the same information so that we can all be on the same fucking page. Because physical therapy for you has got to be different from if I were to do physical therapy.
Yeah, so a lot of mine was like getting range of motion and everything. Like I had to be in this stupid thing, like turn all the way to one side and all the way to and forward and back, and it was a lot. But I mean, I got pretty buff for a minute there. And then when they discharged me, like, you really joined gym, right? And I was like, you are darn tootin', I will. Now go ahead and ask me if I joined a gym.
Hey, did you join a gym?
No, but my best friend works at one. He wants me to. But he lives out here and I live in St. Paul, so like.
I got a Roman chair for my back to help. It's like one of those, aimed like that kind of things. And I don't use it nearly as much as I'm supposed to.
My dad has an inversion table and he's told me I should try it, but like, I don't know. I'm low-key uncomfy, just like hanging there just hanging. Like,
well, and there's ways for you to fuck things up by using an inversion table too. Like
That would be my fucking luck too.
yeah, I use an inversion table and you have to pull yourself back up.
Oh Lord.
Like unless you
I'd be
have
stuck.
however many hundreds of dollars to buy an automatic one.
Yeah, no, I'd be
It's
stuck.
got to be nuts.
I'd just be stuck there for the rest of forever.
So you have to be strong enough to be able to pull yourself back up.
Does this look like I got the arm strength to do that? Because I don't.
That's what I'm saying. Or somebody's got to be there so that when
Look at how tiny my arms are.
the blood gets too, blood rushes to your head too quick, that somebody can fucking help you. I don't know. So
if I want to die, I should go on my dad's inversion table while he's out of town.
depends on what kind he has. But when you're trying to unravel all of the things that you've been through, did you find yourself making excuses like saying things like she did the best she could, or she had an addiction issue, so it's not her fault? You know what I mean? Like making excuses for what was happening?
Kind of. It kind of helped going through the trauma therapy. I should have fucking finished it, but I started physical therapy, and then how do I do physical therapy and therapy? That's just a lot of therapy while I'm trying to work full time. So I picked one of the over the other. Probably should have picked the other one. But I mean, because I did express those thoughts, and my therapist was like, "Yo, but she's still the adult. She's still the parent. Like, she still had that responsibility to you, and like, it really makes you think, because like she did choose to have kids. She, or even if she didn't want them, she could have put us up for adoption. Like there were choices.
Yeah.
There were choices that led her to where we were at. And even now, like, there's days where I'll get sad, and my boyfriend's like, "You gotta remember though, like, she was kind of shitty to you." And like, there's sometimes I do need to remember that, because you can't just because someone dies, you can't make them out to be perfect.
Yeah.
I don't like speaking ill of the dead, but she was abusive, and that does put me to where I am now. She can't own up to it, but
right.
It's not just me who saw it. Other people saw it. Other people have helped me realize that it did happen.
I mean, I'm glad to hear you say it that way, because there's so many people that come on here and will do the whole spiel of like, oh, I don't want to get into that because they were doing the best they could. And it's like, just like you were saying, you were the kid and you're not able to properly heal, just like your neck, without giving yourself the grace to feel those feelings. You are allowed to be sad or be angry, like all of those things, because, and even more so because she's passed on, the closure is with you.
Yeah, like, I didn't get, like, a physical apology from her, which I think would have helped a lot, like, just for her to acknowledge, like, yeah, I was kind of abusive to you, like, I wasn't always the nicest to you. Because she wasn't. Like I said at the beginning, she used to call me Dumbass Junior. Like, she grouped me with my dad because I looked like my dad. And, a lot of animosity towards me, and that sucked. So, like, my boyfriend, there's times where I'm just breaking down. He's like, what is it? And I'm like, I didn't feel loved as a child, and sometimes it's hard for me to see love from other people now, even at 24,
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff sticks with you. I mean, people will talk about how, like, they say they know that the frontal lobe doesn't fully develop until you're 21. But for some reason, when it comes to that stuff, there's a lot of like, get over it, or you think that's bad, I had this. And it's like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, your brain was still developing. And if that thing hit, like, your brain remembers extremely happy stuff and extremely traumatic stuff. And especially when you're growing up, like, what are you going to do? What the fuck? How are you going to tell your developing brain, hey, remember, this isn't that big of a deal. When we're adults, we're going to get over it and everything will be fine.
Or when you're an adult, much worse is going to happen. So just like prepare.
Well, but I'm saying, like, what I'm saying is you don't really have control over how it's going to affect you in the long run, these things. And whatever coping skills you've learned as an adult, there's no way for you to foresee that there is going to be like a positive outcome to any of this stuff. At the time, it's going to be like, this is forever. I mean, think about growing up. It felt like it took forever.
Yeah, now I fucking blink and I'm a fucking year older. I'm like, wait, what? Are we sure?
Yeah. But I mean, when you, so it can feel like you're a fucking POW, man.
Well, and that's kind of what it was, between the two houses. Like, I get released off to dad's and it's all happy and good. And then you go back and into the same routine again.
Yeah. So I like part of the goal of this podcast is to make sure that people know, like, for whatever you think you owe or whatever like trepidations you have towards your parents in these situations, you're not going to be able, like, what's that saying? You can't help others heal unless you heal yourself.
Yeah.
And if you are an empathetic person, which you appear to be, yeah, it's super fucking important to be able to get right with yourself in whatever way that works out. Don't go fucking murdering people, but
I do what I want.
Okay, that's true.
My boyfriend sells human remains. Like, I gotta get them somewhere, Chris.
Are they not at Costco?
I wish. Could you imagine just like a big box of human skulls? Like, that's a pretty big box.
What hey, could you point me in the where are the cadavers? Which aisle do I need to be in?
Oh, C3. Okay, thanks.
Perfect. But I mean, I don't unless people are like have anger issues or whatever. Like, I don't think that giving. Oh, this is what I usually say. Give your situation the weight that it deserves. So if it felt fucking heavy when you were younger, or if it feels heavy when you think about it, let it be known, because you don't have to carry that shit on your own. And you're not going to be able to have like a healthy relationship without being able to share that load somewhat. Because otherwise your partner's going to see you and be like, fucking, you're slouching.
Oh, yeah. It's even now, like, I've been with Cameron since March, and he's still learning small things that will be triggering to me because of even stuff from my childhood. And, like, there's been times he's just hugged me. He'll be like, I'm sorry that your mom made you feel that way, but you are loved. Like, and that's just huge. Like, you do have to learn yourself, and you have to tell them, like, what's going on. Because if I just break down because he did something small and don't tell him what it is, it's going to probably happen again. And it's... With BPD, there's a phrase, it's, I hate you, don't leave me.
Oh, yes, yes.
And that's a huge thing. And I have to fight that constantly because he'll do something and, like, my instinct is, like, I want to run. I just want to go, like, because I can. As a child, you couldn't go anywhere. But as an adult, like, I have that choice. I can walk away from the situation, and I have to remind myself, like, he's not doing this with the intent to hurt you. He didn't know.
It's so hard to come to that spot. And I get that, like, for people who are listening, like, I know that it's not as easy as, like, but I would say you and I are similar in, like, that we had to go through a lot to get to here.
Oh yeah, I still, like, just moved and I need to look into a therapist because lately I've been spiraling a little bit more, and I don't like it.
What's bugging you lately?
I think it's just I don't do well with change whatsoever. So, like, moving from St. Cloud to St. Paul, and then I moved in with my boyfriend and his grandpa just passed away a couple weeks ago.
Fuck.
So, like, that's huge. But then, like, we're looking into getting a house, and, like, I was talking to a lone person, and, like, I don't do well with the rejection, and he was like, hey, your hours aren't enough at work, so, like, you'd have to get more hours at work to even be considered for a loan. And, like, so that rejection just, like, spiraled me hard, and, like, so it, like, that the house is pending. Like, his mom stepped in. We're like, we got it. Like, it has a sold sign on it. The house has a sold sign, but my brain is still like, be ready to pack to dad's just in case. Like, and it sucks. Like, it's a trauma response. I'm constantly back planning it, but
yep,
that's just stuff I need to talk about. Like, the learning that rejection doesn't always mean the end of the world.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a huge thing for me.
Well, and for some reason, we conditioned ourselves to when that happens, for some reason we do want to be alone, or we never want to. I shouldn't say we as like it's for sure everybody, but a lot of people don't want to go to a family member. We want to go to a friend or like somebody who is far enough removed from whatever that they're not going to try and impart other wisdom that we don't want to hear. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you just need to vent that how you're feeling, and a lot of people do try and give you solutions, and then they get upset that you don't want their solutions, and you're like, I just really need to get it off my chest, so I wasn't just sitting with it.
Yeah, it's gonna sound like I'm bitching and moaning, but like this is a part of like how my brain works, and I can't help it. And you know what else we do? We're gonna pop in the used essentials and listen to the saddest shit.
You don't just like throw on a Warped Tour like 20-something playlist on Spotify, because like then you can get a good mix.
Well, Apple does a pretty good job now.
Oh, you're an Apple guy.
I know. I mean, it just like lately it's new because they have like this infinity symbol now where they'll just play.
So you're a white girl.
Yeah. Well, I haven't got it tattooed yet, but I mean, it just like with they've been like spot on with the type of shit that they think I'm going to like.
I love that.
It's like, it's pretty good. You guys are pretty good at trying.
You know me pretty well.
But I mean, yeah, I did really like, I didn't just get sad. I got fucking sad. Like I would grab all of the tools that would like keep me isolated and like really stretch this feeling out rather than being like, okay, we got shit to do. So let's like.
But sometimes that's what you need. Like I'll throw on hotel books and it's basically just like sad poetry to some sad music.
Really?
Like it hits hard. You should look into it.
Yeah.
And like, but it's a lot of like the same thoughts that I'm having at that time. And so hearing someone else going through that exact kind of same thing that you're feeling.
Yeah.
Like you're like, hey, yeah, I'm going to be sad with you. You're going to be sad with me. We're going to belt this out together, me and you. Like,
yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there's healthy ways of doing it for sure. But I always think about like how I did it before and how I wish I could have known like that only needs to be a car ride.
Oh, yeah.
Like a car ride of this. And then when you get out, like, whew, got all my tears out to, how could this happen to me?
That was beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, all of this is to say like, all of the shit that even though I'm an atheist heathen, like everything that I've been through should be of use to other people to know that one, you're not alone, which I know everybody always says, but to say like, use me as a playbook as to like what does and does not work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when you hear somebody like one of your, and it's got to be weird for you because like when your friends vent to you, are they like, I know it's nothing compared to.
Yeah, I've definitely had that. And I have to be like, your world is completely different from mine. So something that, you know, I think of as just a little, 'tis but a flesh wound, you know, could kill someone else, you know, like everyone handles everything differently. So to invalidate people by being like, oh, well, but I went through this and this was so much worse, because some people do that.
Yep.
And yeah, I may have been through quote unquote worse in other people's eyes, but this is the worst some people have ever gone through. You know, some people losing their dog feels just as bad as me losing my mom because they've never lost someone that close. So like their dog is the closest they've lost to a family member. So like you gotta see it through their eyes too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I have people, and like, especially when I first got out of treatment, like they were very like standoffish. Like they would, like it felt like they were scared that they were going to say something racist or something. Like, you know, that vibe where they're like, your friend who doesn't interact with black people very often is like, what's going on, my bro friend?
My homie.
Hello. I also like Dr. Dre. You know what I mean? Like
That's
they
the
just
whitest way you could talk to a black person, Chris.
That's what I'm saying though.
The
Like
best part is I've been watching Everybody Hates Chris, so like it's even better. Like,
I've never watched that show, but
dude,
right, it's with Chris Rock when he's a kid.
I think it's on Hulu.
I should jump in there. So I mean, what are your coping skills now?
Look at my face and tell me what my coping skills might be. No joke though. Actually, like I've learned, like when I want to self-harm, I'll just go on the Modify website real quick and see if there's a piercing appointment open. I've walked in, I've looked at Justin, I've gone, stab me. He goes, well, where? I'm like, you pick. That's how I got my Philtrum. I let him pick where I get stabbed. It's pretty fun.
Is there a vacuum going?
Sounds like a blender.
So yeah, the coping skills when you can't get a piercing or a tattoo, what do you do?
I have made enough friends at this point where I reached out to my one friend Josh that you also know, and I was like, hey homie, like my mental health is really bad right now.
Oh,
and
Ziegler?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's so salty that I'm on here now.
Oh, that's right.
So
yeah,
fucking
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Hey Josh.
What's up, Josh?
But like I was just like, yo, I'm in a really bad place mentally right now, and like he was like, hey, same, and like we just kind of talked about it. I was like, I'm honestly contemplating like psych ward, and he was like, yo, there's no shame in that. And we're like, let's go together. And we just like joked about bringing his ferret with, and that's honestly what got me to laugh, because I said that I was gonna hide his ferret in my pants, and we're like, big furry dick, like it's just gonna like it looks super funny, like, and that was the first time I'd laughed that day.
Aww.
And like it was just some like we're talking about going to the psych ward, and then like it just tiny little bit that just like it was enough that it brought me out of it just enough that I was able to like I'll throw on like my favorite movie, House of a Thousand Corpses or Nightmare Before Christmas. I'll throw on one of those because they're like my safe things.
They're so polar opposite.
I know, it's super funny. Like it's super like literally like Cameron came home the other day and I texted him before I got home. I was like, don't switch the movie when you go home. I need this right now. And he's like, okay. And like he got home and I had made a status that day like, hey, what's everyone's like go-to shows or movies? And everyone else was like, oh, like comedies and super happy. And I'm like, I like watching people get dismembered. Super safe. Super, super fun. But like, that's just me. I mean, I'm not doing it to other people. I'm watching it, you know?
Mm.
See? Thinking. So yeah, I'll just, small little things like picking up my big fat cat and just like hugging him because he's 20 pounds. Or like pressure therapy with dogs. That's why I fucking love dogs. I will just make the dog lay on me. I'll just lay on the floor.
I've never heard of that.
So a lot of therapy dogs have learned to just lay and create that pressure. It's like when people use weighted blankets. It's like an anxiety reducer. So like having a big ass dog on me is my favorite fucking thing. Like,
do you have a therapy dog?
So I currently, my boyfriend has a dog. He's a Shiba, so he's not super big, but he does his best. He really does. And like if I'm sad and I call him, he comes right up to my face and he's, Mom, you okay? Like,
oh.
He's super good. But when I get my house, which we're just gonna push that into existence, it's happening. We're getting the house. Cameron did say I can start getting a dog because I want to get an MS service dog, actually.
Yes, that would be fucking rad.
That dog will be trained to do things like turning off lights or like helping me sit up in bed, so like come behind your back and like kind of just like push you up. Like small things that people don't realize that dogs can do, but like are super fucking helpful for people like me. But yeah, like pressure therapy with animals in general. Like I'll go take out my lizard and I'll just sit there and pet him and like I'm his world. So like he's just looking at me like, hey Ma, and I'm like, hey buddy, I love you so much. Like, but yeah, just small things like, and that's the weirdest thing. It's become such small things that I've learned can flip my mood. You know, watching people get dismembered. Eating ice cream, even though it's going to piss off my stomach later. Or Chinese food. Like, I remember I went through a breakup at one point, and my friend, like, her first response is, hey, I'll be there in, like, an hour. I'm stopping at the Monticello Chinese buffet because I know you love it there. I'm going to get you a buffet to go, and I'll be there with Chinese. I don't even have to stay. I'm just going to bring you your food, and then you can do what you want to do. Like, thanks, guys. And then people actually crowdfunded my Philtrum piercing.
No way.
No, the coffin, yeah. So I had the Philtrum already, but I was like, guys, I'm sad. Like, help me. And we crowdfunded enough for me to get my eyebrow pierced and for me to get my coffin. And
Dude.
I was so fucking this thing's fucking expensive, so
yeah.
Hashtag 14 karat.
Dude, that's fucking rad.
Yeah, like, so I do have a good support system where if I really am I'll post a status and be like, guys, post picture of your babies and your animals. And people, I had 83 comments before I even replied to anyone when I posted that like 2 weeks ago. And I even had people messaging me who didn't want to throw them on the thread. And it was just like people I don't even talk to. People like I don't even remember are on my friends list, but they see that and they want to help. And that means a lot because you don't realize how big your support circle is until you absolutely need it.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard to like, it's this double-edged thing where like social media makes you feel like no one's there, but everyone can see.
Yeah.
So it's a really weird, like you could feel alone with a lot of eyes on you. But those same people, if you give them the chance, like you're saying, like dropping a photo or shooting you a message, like most people are down to have some type of interaction.
Literally just throwing a picture of your dog on a status, it means a lot because that's what I needed. I needed to see people's happy animals and happy babies. Like, or I literally go to my friends' houses who have babies. And I'm like, hey, I'm sad. I'm gonna cuddle this. Thanks.
Babies are the best, man.
My friend has 2 sets of twins, so if I really, he lives in Becker too. So like,
Really?
Yeah, he's got 3-year-olds and 1-year-olds.
With the MS stuff, I mean, what have they? I don't know how the degrees of MS work.
So there's a few different kinds. Mine is the relapsing remitting MS, as where there's also the primary progressive, which that one just kind of keeps going always.
Okay.
As where mine, like it comes in waves. Like right now would be my remission. I'm not having super symptom flares, like nothing like that. And then once you hit that relapse, people like lose feeling in half their body, lose like. It really depends on the person. I'm lucky enough that my lesions are only on my brain, not on my spine or my neck right now, so it's not really affecting my mobility too much. It's more cognitive than anything.
That's such a weird thing to hear. Luckily, they're just on my brain.
Yeah, I know. It sounds super, but I have a friend who, she's a year older than me, and hers were on her spine, and she's in a wheelchair full time. So it's,
Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy how fast things can progress. And because I caught mine so early, I was able to get on my medication right away, and that prevents new lesions from forming. So,
Wow.
So I've been super fucking lucky with that. And, again, lucky that I spent $15 to find out, if I had glaucoma. Hashtag, it was not glaucoma.
Have you heard of catastrophizing?
No.
So catastrophizing, it's a lot like anxiety, or I would say like a lot of people with anxiety do this.
Thinking of everything as what a catastrophe could happen, because I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory.
It is fairly self-explanatory, but a lot of people don't realize, they think that they're just pointing out the obvious. You know what I mean? Like, why try? It's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to do this because da-da-da-da-da. So it's less like what's the worst possible outcome and more just shitting on any type of like help.
Yeah.
Because you think that you know that it's not going to work. So you're catastrophizing on any answers or remedies because you're like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
So I just like, I don't know your world. So I'm curious as to like, what, like when you found out, did your brain go that direction?
Yeah, I think when I first, because I was still so fucking young at that point, like, it makes you wonder, like, what all am I going to lose? One thing that's big is people with MS with pregnancy. They'll typically lose symptoms of MS during the whole pregnancy, but then the second they're not pregnant anymore, they go into a huge relapse. Like to the point of like not being able to walk, that kind of stuff. And that's a scary thing for me to think about. I don't have kids yet, and I've always wanted kids. So that's the thing I have to think about. Like after I have a kid, am I going to be able to, walk to pick them up from their crib? Am I, where am I going to be at that point? And so like there was a point where I was like, do I even bother trying to have kids anymore? Like what's the... It still hits me sometimes because I'll tell people I want kids, and their first thought is, you do, even with your MS? And I'm like, well, I'm at a point right now where it's not super bad, so why not try and do it now before, before it possibly gets bad, because who knows? I could be this perfect forever. We don't know.
Yeah.
You know? And that's kind of just been my life, is like, it started with the catastrophizing, but now it's like, I'll figure things out as I go, kind of, because like, I lived on the 3rd floor with MS. You know how bad that sucked? I broke my foot last year, and I had to go up 3 flights of stairs every fucking day, up and down, up and down. It was just like, all right.
Have you broken a lot of things?
No, it's super funny. The foot was just like a freak. It was a stress fracture, and like super random, but I was in a boot for like 4 or 5 months. That sucked. And then neck, I got dropped crowd surfing, which still trying to find the dude who carried me out. So if it was you,
contact us at this 1-800 number below.
1-800. Did you catch me?
1-800 who dis? But yeah, so I mean, so was it through therapy that you got to that point to where you were like, I just got to take it day by day, or?
So I wasn't in therapy when I first got diagnosed. So I ended up ending the long-term relationship I had been in. At the time of my diagnosis, I had been with him almost 3 years, and it kind of sucks because like we're still friends, and like I still will always have like a love for him in the friendship way, because like we do have that history. But he looked at me during, all this up and down with me, and he was like, I don't want to watch you go downhill. And I had looked into MS enough to know that like once you start going down, there's not a lot of going back up. Like you go down and then you can go straight, but then it's a down again. There's not another hill going back up. And that really sat with me, like, okay, well, you don't want to watch me go downhill. What if this happens? Are you going to leave? And so I made that choice to leave.
Oh.
And we've talked about it, and that it fucked with him a lot, because it's not necessarily what he meant per se, but
right.
I didn't know. I didn't know what the future was going to hold, and so I didn't want to put him in that position where if it did get worse, for him to have to see that. So it was kind of like a mercy breakup.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like a burden with MS. Because there's days where I do have trouble. I have a fucking cane in my car. It's decked out in stickers and it's dope, but like I have trouble walking some days. Like I do have issues. Like I had a neighbor who would constantly help me with carrying in my groceries or taking my trash out, and it's small things like that sometimes you do need help, but you feel like a fucking burden because I'm 24 years old. I should be able to do this on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can empathize with that. Like I said, it's not my thing is not your world. I get, my friend has been saying this lately, which is I get it, but I haven't lived it.
Yeah.
I've lived my version, but my version kind of like you were saying, like or like I was saying before, like with technology, like the disc replacement stuff is getting more feasible and more feasible. So there is an opportunity for me at some point. I don't know the world of, and it sucks because like I was talking about with the whole suicide thing before, I know in the back of my mind, I still have a hint of that, like, well, if I'm not able to do XYZ, then I'm not me anymore. Yeah. And so it sucks. So I'm partly asking for the audience, but I'm also asking for me is to like, I mean, how the fuck do you stay positive?
So I haven't had that much taken away from me yet. I mean, I wasn't like super outdoorsy or anything. Like my friend in the wheelchair, she used to love like hiking, kayaking and stuff, and she can't do that anymore. So I've had to see her struggle through that. But I didn't have that. You want to know the thing I can't do anymore? Crowd surf, because if I fall again, I'm probably paralyzed. And that sucks because I fucking love shows. But I can still do shows. I mean, it's a little different now though. Like, yeah. I get tired out a little bit easier. Like, I can't go as hard. Pits aren't necessarily as safe, but like I can still do it. I still have the ability to drive, which a lot of people with MS have had taken away from them. I still have these opportunities. It hasn't hit me. And I think it could change for me. My outlook might change a little bit if I do spiral downward more. It might be harder to keep positive, but right now, like I'm stable, and that's what matters. Like I can walk. I'm in an MS group on Facebook, and there's a lady who just had a baby and she can't feed herself because she can't do the movement. Like, and she's feeling completely defeated. And like, so I read stuff like that and it just makes me put into perspective, like, I can still do all these things. I still have so much that I can do that why think about, oh no, I can't possibly get carried across a crowd and dropped again.
I will never know the battle cry before a wall of death.
I know that battle cry. It's a good one. It's a good one.
You're in a world that is also pretty fascinating in that I'm assuming it doesn't require tons of mobility. Like in the oddity world.
So I do oddities with him, but I'm a PCA for 5 kids at this point.
You are?
Yeah. So.
Oh my God.
It's big for me though. It's a sibling set of 5, ages 3 to 8. And the parents are neglectful. So they're living with grandma. And so for me, it's like I can help them be that step that I needed when I was a kid. Because the way they're going, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
And so like, it's a lot for me. It's a lot. And it really sucks because right now they all have COVID and I haven't been able to work for like 2 weeks.
Oh no.
So like, that's really sucked. So I've been making oddities. But even oddities shows, they do take a lot because we drive, to all of our shows.
Well,
so
I guess I mean in the sense of like you're not running, I'm assuming.
Not running, but we have to unpack and pack the van. There is still a lot to it.
You don't just make Cameron do that?
Oh, I wish. No, we need both of us to be able to do it. But like Chicago, they wouldn't let us drive the van into the like event center on the floor, which every other event like lets us just drive straight up, unload at our spot, and then take the van out. So we had to park in this long-ass tunnel and then load our stuff onto things and push them through. And
why wouldn't they let you drive in?
What's funny is the floors there weren't even as nice as the Minneapolis Convention Center. And, like, whatever. It is what it is.
Do you at least get the cool guy pass?
I mean, I got a oddities and curiosities pass every
show. Oh, no, I mean
the Cribble pass? Or
yeah.
That's my handicap pass.
The Crip pass.
Yeah,
I call it the cool guy pass.
That's my handicap pass. That's how I make friends. Hey, Chris, you want to be friends? We can go places and park up front. No joke. I've done that so many times.
I love it. I think that's the best. From what you've learned so far, I know that like you were saying, like you've been struggling lately, but the couple of times or the few times that I've interacted with you, you seem like a fairly optimistic person.
I think part of it is because, like, you know how I thought I had brain cancer because of the scan? It put, like, when you think you have brain cancer, and they're like, yeah, no, it's just MS. Like, just MS isn't, like, a phrase I would ever say in any other context, but, like, when you think you're dying, and then it's something you can still live with, you know, again, it hasn't taken that much away from me. I'm still me. Like, I'm me with a handicap pass and a cane. Beat the shit out of you. Like,
yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So I did realize that there was a question that I forgot to ask.
Blue.
Oh, perfect. Well, then we're done.
All right, cool.
Pull that guy a little bit closer.
Nah.
No?
Make me.
When it came to school, because you had kind of an affinity for the not so normal, like were you picked on in school or treated unfairly?
Not really picked on, but like nobody was like jumping to fucking be my friend. Like I've kind of had this same aesthetic for the past forever.
I figured.
There's a picture of me and my dad from like 2011, and I still have the tank top and sweatshirt in my closet that I was wearing in that picture. So like that says a lot. But yeah, like my kind of creepy stuff or whatever I like isn't the kind of stuff that was really accepted at Buffalo. So yeah, like the group that I found was all the kids who liked metal and weird stuff and whatever. And then they graduated, and then it was me. But luckily, I was in the arts magnet program, and what that is, like all of your classes, like your main, so English, science, and social studies, it's all integrated with art. So like instead of taking tests, we would make dances or plays or like stuff. Yeah, so like super cool. But so like after those friends graduated, I kind of just stuck with the arts kids because we all had the same classes, and so it was like the safe people. But yeah, no one who really liked the creepies. See, but now people find out I have this stuff, and they're all about it.
Yeah.
Like, you see these cute little nostril piercings here?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't paid for them because...
Oh, that's what Justin was talking about.
Yeah, like...
He told me to mention something about he wants something cool.
Yeah, like he needs to tell me what he wants. Because, like, I was planning on paying with my gift card. Like, I was ready to pay. And he's like, yeah, no, just, I'll let you know when I find something cool. And I was like, what? So I'm just walking out.
Peace.
This feels illegal, but bye. Like, it felt so... But, like... If that's what he wants, okay. Like, I'm not gonna argue, but it's just weird. Like, I'm the cool person now. Like, he's got butterflies that I brought to him sitting in the shop, and I'm like...
You brought those?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the 3 that are in I think they're on the counter.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, what did those pay? Oh, those pay for my plague doctor in my left ear.
Nice. You had a pretty interesting life, and I know 24 might not feel super young, but it's still... I mean, I was 24 when we had our first, and now I'm 34.
Yeah, it's not super old, but like it does feel like a lot when you've had this much happen.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you don't think you're gonna make it to a certain age. Like, I didn't plan to make it to 18. I didn't plan to make it to 20. Like, I'm at 24 now. Like, what? Here I am. Hip hip hooray! Like. So it's just kind of crazy, like, because I haven't planned, and I think that's part of why I haven't gone to college, is I didn't plan, because I didn't plan to make it this long.
Sure. So they can't, I mean, you don't have to pay any student loan debt if you're not there, so.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's just.
So, I mean, so you had this affinity for Tim Burton ever since. No. So with the oddity stuff, like, you met somebody who was not so great, and then so did they get you into that?
No, so I had wanted to go to the show, and I remember I was supposed to work that day, and I called into work because I just like.
So when you say the show, by the way, is there like an oddity convention?
Yes, so there is an oddities and curiosities show that travels country, and this was the Minneapolis show.
Okay.
So yeah, Shitty X. Like, I want to say we had like just fought about something, and so like he agreed to let us go as like a making up for it kind of thing, like trying to like make up for being a piece of shit.
Sure.
And so we went there, and I was really fucking excited. Like, first time ever going to it. Like, I had known it was a thing before, but had never tried to go to it. And I was so excited. There was just, it's everywhere. There's so much stuff. And it's crazy, like, now working them, because like I see it with completely different eyes. Because I get to see it before it all goes up. I get to see it when it all comes down. But like walking into it, it's like a fucking kid in a candy store. I was like, holy shit. And yeah, so I, shopped rows and rows of things. And finally I found a dead bat at Cameron's booth, and I bought it. I don't even think I interacted with Cameron. But I took his business card because I just had a fucking stack of business cards and a note. I had all those business cards up until like 2 months ago. Like, still had them. But his was the only one that I ever like actually like followed online out of that whole fucking stack that I got. And then it's a couple years later, and he posts Crocodile Skull, and I was just like, yeah, sure, why not? So like he added me on his friends list for his like personal account, so that way I could message him through that instead of business account, because it's just a little bit easier. And I wasn't gonna try to like get with him or anything. It was like he shared a thing. It was a conversation between him and a girl, and she said send duck pics. Obviously they meant dick pics, but he sent a duck pic. And like I was so about that. And I was like, man, I wish cute guys would send me duck pics. And like, so it kind of just spiraled into like us talking about ducks. And then like I told him that I was crushing, and then like I have really bad self-esteem. And like, so I didn't think he'd go for it, but like he went for it. And I was like, oh, what? Hi. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to come over with these dead things. Let's hang out. Well, like he was working at home, and he's like, oh man, I wish you were just here. It'd be easier than having to stop working to type to talk to you.
Oh, sure.
I was like, well, it's only like an hour and a half away, because I was in St. Cloud at the time. And so,
only an hour and a half away.
Yeah, only. Hour and 23 minutes, my door to his. It's fine. And so I got all prettied up and I got my dead things in a little Pokemon lunchbox and I headed to St. Paul. And then my best friend Zach, he knew I was going because I called him. I was like, oh, do I do it? Like I'm scared. Like I was just like freaking out because like I have anxiety. He's like, okay, just do it, but you need to call me. You need to be home by this time. Like he was dadding me hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where I was supposed to be home and I was still at Cameron's. And I FaceTimed Zach. I was like, hey, buddy, I'm not going home tonight. And I stayed the night for the first night, the first time I stayed over there. Got up and left for work like 6 a.m. And then I literally just kept coming back like every day. I drive back to St. Cloud and I go to work and I get off work at like 10 o'clock and I drive. And
Wow.
yeah, so I was doing back and forth for a minute.
Hoofta.
Yeah. Lots of podcasts listening in my car.
I like that storyline is like if Tim Burton directed a Wes Anderson film, it's like that relationship.
It worked out in my favor though, because like who better to like dead things than somebody who fucking sells them? Like
Yeah.
what? So yeah, now like 8 or 9 shows I've done with him this year. We just did a reptile show a couple weekends ago. I've been to like 10 different states with him. Like we travel in his cargo van to and from shows. We got a bed in there, so like we don't hotel it. We hardcore stay in the van. It's pretty fun. Like
Hell yeah, man.
yeah, so it's been really good for me. And honestly, I just like I laugh at the fact that I was there with my shitty ex and he still stalks me, and I'm willing to bet he's pissed off at the fact that I found happiness. And good. Be sad.
What's his name?
Dustin.
I don't need the last name, but Dustin, if you're watching, and we know you are, go fuck yourself.
Bro, he was following my OnlyFans for the longest time.
So you have an OnlyFans?
I did. Okay, I did hey, I don't care. I don't care who knows.
No.
Like, all the guys at Modify already know about it. It is what it is.
It's just funny that like
I'll casually throw it out there and people have that. And wait, what? I'm like, yeah,
exactly.
I mean, hey, it makes me money. Leave me alone. But like, he thought he was being so sneaky when he put the name as You Yuck Nasty-ish.
You Yuck Nasty-ish.
Yeah, that was the full account name. You Yuck Nasty-ish. All crammed into no spaces. Just you act like I don't know that. And then like he messaged me and he acts like I don't know his like the way he types and everything. And I just like I knew the whole time. I knew the whole goddamn time, and I just thought it was so fucking funny. Like you're giving me money to stalk me. You know that, right? Like it might not be a ton, but like you're still paying to stalk me. What?
Do you have any advice that you'd like to throw people's way, kind of at a loss for even how to convey advice when it comes to like what do you feel was kind of the biggest detriment or catalyst to kind of your struggle growing up?
I think the MS was honestly like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like I had gone through so much, and everyone always said I was resilient and everything, but that's just like it was just one last hit, and that really brought me down for a minute. But it's once I put into perspective like other people's lives a little bit, and I don't like necessarily comparing like, oh, other people have it worse.
Oh, sure.
But like you kind of got it in a sense, like, and it actually is a DBT skill. It is one of the weird things, like the
fake it till you make it.
Kind of, yeah, and that's kind of what I had to do. Like I had to just like, all right, yep, I got all these doctor's appointments, but hey, I'm still here. Like I was still working 2 full-time jobs. I still had an apartment. I still had all this stuff going for me, and I still do. Like, I still have so much life I could live. Like, I could win a fucking Nobel Prize for all I know, because so many people don't hit their peak until they're, how much older. Just because people I went to high school with are nurses and teachers and whatever, and that does get to me some days, because, like, I didn't go to college. I don't have a degree, but the work I'm doing is still meaningful. Just because they're at a different level than I am doesn't mean that, I'm not good enough, or I'm not at where I should be. Everyone reaches milestones differently. Same with babies. Like, yeah, there's times when like, oh, your baby usually will walk by 6 months, but there's extenuating circumstances, like, and unfortunately I had those. I still have those. So like, but I'm still meeting milestones. My boyfriend just bought me a fucking hearse.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
I have a fucking hearse. Did I ever think I'd have a boyfriend buy me a hearse? No. And no, it's not outside. I'm sorry.
Do you know Like, so you have not seen the other show?
No.
Okay, so Mara is our producer, and she drives a hearse, and they put a fake coffin in the back.
Oh, I'm getting a real coffin, dude.
Nice. But that's awesome that I know two people who drive a hearse.
Well, like, and that's the thing. Like, life looks up. Like, hearse has been my dream car since before I could drive. Like, it's been my thing. And he surprised me with the other day. We were coming home from a casino, and he's like, "Hey, I have a big surprise for you. Like, I promise you're gonna like it." Like, and he made me put blindfold on, and he drove to his friend's house, and I like looked at. I'm like, "Why are we in a neighborhood?" And I saw a hearse, and I was like, "Oh, we're at Nathaniel's, whatever." But it finally clicked because we had just bought a new battery for it at Walmart, and he like immediately walks up to the hearse and starts putting new battery. And I was like, "Cameron, did you buy us a hearse?" He's like, "No, I bought you a hearse." And like, I almost started crying. I was like, you what? Like, what? I have a fucking hearse. What? I didn't ever think I'd be at this point. Like,
That's
here I am.
awesome,
Like,
dude.
you can't always think that it's the end of the world. Like, I know it feels that way, but like, things do look up. There's always a rainbow after it rains. Well, sometimes hiding, but it's there.
It's there.
Mine's my hearse.
Fuck yeah, dude. Rainbow hearse.
Could you fucking a black craft rainbow hearse?
Yeah, I like it. Dude, thank you again so much for doing this. Do you want to plug the oddities? Like, do you guys have Instagram or?
So our Facebook, it's Studio Pain Online Shop, and that's where you can find all of our cool things, from wet specimens, skulls, tarot cards. Just got some tarot cards in, $20 a deck.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow Studio Pain on all of the things. And to the listeners, be well to yourselves. That's my sign off.
I figured.